Instead of worrying about white supremacy or that's racist, see it from a spiritually awakened perspective. 400 years, we were to serve our enemies. Genesis 15:13. Then Yah said to Abraham, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, where they will be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I'll also judge the nation whom they will serve, and afterward they will come out with many possessions. That means we will fit every curse in the book of Deuteronomy, from being mocked to fighting each other, working for free, disease, and leaving our children fatherless.
Oh, for goodness sakes! Hello, folksies?
Lazy town. 1 hour stop for lunch.
Now, what they will never tell you is your curses are over. Your 400 years is up. The only culprits who have made your curses seem more popular than they are the sellout black people out of your own nation.
Listen, Mammy, there ain't no way to wash clothes. What you all need is rhythm.
What do you all mean, rhythm?
I'll show you what I mean. In Harlem, there's a little place where everyone goes to see the way a washerwoman washes her clothes.
If you like boogie woogie rhythm, she's gotta be. Let the boogie woogie washerwoman give you a treat. On every afternoon at when the sessions begin, and all the boys from all the bands come down and sit in. They sit around and knock each other out when they play, while the boogie woogie washerwoman washes all day. Rub me up, down. That's just the way she rubs. Rub me up, down. That's just the way she scrubs. Rub me up, down. She wears out all her ducks. She rubs and rubs her knuckles right on down.
Take Jay-Z's story of OJ, who's supposed to be a boss, but envies his oppressor and chooses his ways, forwarding our affliction by making hurtful stereotypes seem cool, referring to the children of Abraham as niggas. When our enemies can't be caught anymore calling us out of our name, how can they do it and make money off doing it? Prince all Freemasons. To have the knowledge to know who you are, and you instead many times over choose the ways of your oppressors, you in these end times are only setting back the curses of the weak-hearted and weak spirits of your own people, while you shine massive shoes in the big house, calling yourself a god and boss outside. Soul features Pixar's first black lead character. Here's how it happened. Mindful of animation's history of racist imagery, the studio aimed to make the jazz pianist at the center of the film as specific as possible. Mindful of animation's history of racist imagery, you say. Let's take a look at a few examples of black male comedians who have worn dresses and have been animated animals. Eddie Murphy in Shrek and Mulan, Martin Lawrence, Open Season, Chris Rock, Madagascar, Kevin Hart, Secret Life of Pets, Jay Pharoah, Sing, now Jamie Foxx in Soul. While the black community fell in love with the appearance, they missed the jab at our Masonic education that kept you asleep all this time.
In fact, all of school is a waste of time.
Of course. Like my mentor George Orwell used to say, state-sponsored education is like the rattling of a stick inside a swill bucket.
Yeah!
The ruling class's core curriculum stifles dissent. It's the oldest trick in the
So
book.
the only way this jazz pianist could appreciate life was he needed the soul of a middle-aged white woman.
By the way, why do you sound like a middle-aged white lady?
I don't. This is all an illusion.
Huh?
This whole place is a hypothetical.
I could sound like this if I wanted to.
Or sound like this instead.
I could even sound like you.
Life is so unfair. I don't want to die. Somebody call the ambulance.
So a hypothetical illusion with so many choices, that's what they go with to put a stamp on crushing racist imagery.
For many people, chasing after the ice cream truck after hearing its now famous jingle is a summer ritual. But would you believe that the song actually has some racist origins?
But when I first became aware of some sort of racist origin to the ice cream song, I just shook my head. I was just like, wow.
That's Devin L. Walker from The Uncle Devin Show. He's a music educator who has studied the racist origins of some of the most popular nursery rhymes today. He spoke with us about the problematic past of the ice cream truck songs and other children's songs that have more devious histories than we'd expect.
It comes out of Europe. And it was a song that actually spoke more about animals. It was a song called Turkey in the Straw.
But in 1916, vaudeville actor Harry C. Brown borrowed the melody and published a very different version.
And he changed the lyrics to "Nigga want a watermelon, ha ha ha." But Zippity Doo-Dah, Zippity Day is a minstrel song. Over the years, they changed the lyrics. I know the 1945 Walt Disney Music Company, the first two refrains is Zippity Doo-Dah, Zippity Day.
My, oh my, what a wonderful day.
It is about, like I say, Uncle Remus, who was a slave.
So everyone is willing to give Disney a great big pat on its back for being so daring, so progressive and brave to make a live-action Little Mermaid with a black girl as lead. But when you put it in biblical context, so Israelite Ariel, for an example, sells her soul to a witch in order to marry outside of her nation to a man who follows another god. I mean, we've seen this enough already without having another cutesy story about the puppets of the music industry selling their souls to the other nations. One night in Miami was amazing in my opinion, but what they don't tell you, it was a time where athletes were stronger than secret societies, and the racists at that time were Democrats. So a lot of black liberals were pumping their fists when this movie came out. But these strong men were actually standing up against the so-called liberals you're brainwashed into protecting. Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come is by far the most powerful song attributed to the social justice woes during any time. He died at age 33 on December 11th. There were conflicting stories in the reports of the women who were supposedly with him during that time. I don't believe he was chasing any woman or any prostitute down the street or into the hotel office because they took money from him. I believe Sam Cooke was beaten and killed because he was the only black artist at that time, or few black artists, that owned his own publishing and masters, which is unheard of today for platinum selling artists who aren't a part of secret societies. When he didn't comply or join, they had him killed.
What do you think about the other black athletes like them who in their time have had influence or would have been in a position to have influenced people, their own people and this sort of thing, about their attitude, which is certainly slightly more moderate rather than yours?
Right now, black people, when you show this show, are home jumping, home shouting, because they don't have the nerve to say what I'm saying, and nobody has never said it, and they're just so happy to see a black man who will stand up and jeopardize every quart he's got to tell the truth.
I played 9 years. And I left at the age of 29 years old, and I was MVP of the league. And that's what I wanted to do.
There's a reason why they funneled athletes into these Masonic lodges, because they feared strong, outspoken men. That is the biggest threat to this system. Jim Brown's been doing what Kaepernick can only pretend to do, and Jim did it at the prime of his life, while showing the owner of the Browns organization, Art Modell, that he didn't need football to stand up. like he did on the Dick Cavett show in a debate with Democratic Governor Lester Maddox, who all lives mattered him in his rebuttal of social justice.
I feel that the way to bring about equality of black people in this system is
what
through
about
economic...
equality of white people? Now, I won't interrupt you every time you keep calling black people.
Well,
what about equality of all people?
If you interrupt me, Governor, I can't talk to you.
Well, if you're just going to talk about black people, don't include all people. I try to include all people. You're just interested in the black. Why don't you tell these people that in Atlanta, Georgia, where you keep talking about the South, that the percentage-wise, more black people are professional business people, industrial leaders,
Governor,
more of them in our state house elected officials than any other state in the country.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt
you? Be all right, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. See, I'm not really here to fight with you. I'm only trying to have a discussion with you.
I'm not going to fight with you either.
And I'm trying to use the technique.
There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there watching you, and I want you to be fair about all people, not just black people. We got a lot of people in this country.
I can understand that, but you do know I have a reputation, right? And I saw
I don't
you.
know about it.
I saw you.
Tell me what your reputation is now.
I saw you bring that state trooper back there, you know, behind the curtain. I know you brought him back there for a reason.
It is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
Some more white liberals came along with the 13th, 14th, and 5th Amendments, which were supposed to solve the race problem. The problem is still here. 9 years ago, 9 more white liberals, so-called, came up with what they call a Supreme Court desegregation decision, and the problem is still here. And then another white man named Kennedy came along running for president and told Negroes what all he was going to do for them if they voted for him, and they voted for him, 80%. He's been in office now for 3 years, and the problem is still here. When the police were biting black women and black children and black babies in Birmingham, Alabama, that Kennedy talked about what he couldn't do because no federal law had been violated. And as soon as the Negroes exploded and began to protect themselves and got the best of the crackers in Birmingham, then Kennedy sent for the troops. And there was no, he didn't have any new law. When he sent for the troops when the Negroes erupted, than he had at the time when whites were erupting. So we are within our rights and with justice, with justification, when we express doubt concerning the ability of the white man to solve our problem, and also when we express doubt concerning his integrity, concerning his sincerity. Because you will have to confess that the problem has been around here for a long time, and whites have been saying the same thing about it for the past 100 years, and it's no nearer a solution today than it was 100 years ago.
I put this together because I wanted to cut into this Martin Luther King holiday spirit. I wanted you to open your eyes that white supremacy has never had real power. It was because of us that they were allowed to turn up the affliction on our people. It is prophecy, not racism. Some of you want to be a part of this system so bad that you take the Most High telling you no, that it's racist, they won't let me have it. You were meant for something more. You're meant to have more than 40 acres and a mule. You want to cry, scratch, protest, die, scream, fight in the middle of the... I put this together because I wanted to cut into this Martin Luther King holiday spirit. I wanted you to open your eyes that white supremacy has never had real power. It was because of us that they were allowed to turn up the affliction on our people. It is prophecy, not racism. Some of you want to be a part of this system so bad that you take the Most High telling you no, that it's racist, they won't let me have it. You were meant for something more. You're meant to have more than 40 acres and a mule. You want to cry, scratch, protest, die, scream, fight in the middle of the street for something that will never be yours. And it makes sense to come back to these laws and get what's coming after this nation is judged. Why do you want to be in between the judgment of this nation? There's not a political party or an American president that is going to save you out of your woes. This system was built for the illusion that white supremacy holds a torch to spiritual freedom.